Thanks for staying with us. So our guest is an actress, filmmaker, singer, TV personality, and entrepreneur. She's a multiple award-winning actress who is well known for acting in Yoruba indigenous women. Welcome with us, Temidaya Amusa in the building.
Yo, yo, yo.
How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
I love you. You look really nice.
Thank you.
This morning.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll be discussing about your movie a bit later. But before you came, we were just discussing this Japa dynamics and the fact that when people live in Nigeria and they decide to go abroad, we've seen a lot of homes break up recently, especially because many of them are finding it difficult to adjust to the new system. It's men who have a certain way of doing things in Nigeria, travel abroad, and they have been faced with the fact that their wives might have become the breadwinner because they are nurses and they're making more money, and you are there trying to just make ends meet here and there. What stories have you heard? Do you know any relationship that we can learn from where people who have traveled abroad are struggling to stay together?
Well, first and foremost, I would say that distance is not something so good for any relationship or marriage to start with. And of course, just like you said earlier, a lot of Nigerians are, trying to japa, they're trying to relocate, and all based on, the situation of things around them, basically. But for me, I think the issue of couples living separately is not a good idea, to be candid, because first and foremost, they kind of have this problem based on trust issue. The fact that you don't really know what the other person is doing out there, and then the whole thing now results to you having to communicate via mobile phone or via text message, which I think, in a way, it's not so good for couples.
Let's talk about that for a second, because we were discussing earlier about people when they actually move. But those who are having to have a structure of long distance, how is that happening? I mean, I know somebody who recently was telling me that, Mariah, it's been tough raising their children when the spouse, sometimes the wife goes ahead, sometimes the husband goes ahead, and then you're forced to have to raise the child alone. And then the child is used to seeing daddy via FaceTime. And that's all they see. And he's raising his children via FaceTime. He's reprimanding his children via FaceTime. The kids are like, yeah, whatever. But how do we learn from that? Is that the new world we must accept? Because the truth is that new things are happening these days and people are adjusting. See?
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mariam.
Okay, so long distance marriages and relationships, I really have to commend those people who have done it for many years. I can understand a couple of years, 3 years maybe, I have to go to school or something. But when it's till eternity, I don't know how it's still a marriage. I'm sorry. I don't know how it's truly working. And you know how it is that sometimes the spouse that's away isn't able to come as often. So maybe you find that the spouse hasn't come back in 5 to 8 or 10 years. And I'm like, really? So how? There are so many things that happen in marriage. There are many.
Faithful.
Yes, that's what I'm going to. There are many things that happen in marriages that we don't discuss here, but we know happens at night. What is happening? What are you telling the woman at home? And is she trusting that you're doing the same? I know that we'll say that society is more forgiving of men when they step out, but very harsh on women. And yet that's a human being that you have left behind, and she has needs as well. So I don't think it's a good idea. I don't know why people have to take that step, but some people have, weathered the storm. They've done 10 years, and then eventually the person has acquired the wealth that they were hoping to go and acquire, or a better life, and then they're able to bring them in. But we have also heard that because of that long time period away from each other, it's like relearning this person all over again, knowing and understanding this person. You left when we were in our late 20s. Now we're in our 40s or heading into our 50s, and I'm meeting you again, and there's so many things I've had to adjust the way I've lived my life, my lifestyle, that's so different, that did not include you being physically there all the time. And now I have to, marry and compromise. Many people don't even make it after they've even come in together because they realize they're two different people. And they've lived their life separately for too long.
So I think when you get into marriage with the mindset of we are a team, and together we can face the world. Some things are easier for you to handle. It doesn't mean the challenges won't come or it won't be there, but the mindset of we are going to go through this together also helps you to become flexible per time, flexible per the challenges that come your way. Sometimes we think people just choose to have a distant relationship, but it could be a job. You could be married to a soldier who has to go to war, and he's away, and you see him once in 2 years, once in 3 years, but that's the job, that's his calling. There's nothing you can do about it. You would have to stay, make it work. In FaceTime, you can correct your children and you enforce it back home. After he's dropped the instructions for them, you follow through back home. You just have to find a way to hold each other up. When this one is not here, I am here. When I got married, I'm a lovey-dovey, touchy, together kind of person. But then the job and traffic in Lagos had to make us separate for over 8 years. But we had to find a way. Sometimes, some weekends that I expect that he will be coming back home, he's not able to make it. The first few years, my little baby could not recognize him as the father of the house. We had to just make do. So when I'm feeling the gap, I feel it to the best of my ability because I understand that this just had to happen till we now came back together again. And when we came back together, like what Miriam said is very right. You have to relearn again. I had to start getting used to the fact that, okay, the man is now around. The person that will check the generator has now come. Let me relax so that
But how
he do
long
his job.
is too long? Because some people will say, oh, 2 years, 2 years. Some will say 10 years.
I did 8 years.
So you did
But you were
8
saying that
Wait,
was
see-
every weekend,
No,
every other
no,
weekend.
not all the time. Oh. But at least he was in Nigeria.
No, it was Nigeria.
It is okay for...
It's
So you will... Sorry, darling. You will explain it after all it's in Nigeria. After all it's in... Even if he was abroad, would I have left him? No. I am there to make it work, and we find a way.
Let's jump in.
But it is understandable if you understand and then you both have an agreement on what needs to be done. Yeah, it's understandable. But the truth of the matter is, distance is not something that, that one should even probably think of infusing in marriages. No,
Okay.
I disagree. Because, okay, now, let's look at it from this angle. From the emotional aspects, okay? Everybody have this need of closure, the connection, communication. The way you communicate via mobile phone, you cannot relate it with the way you communicate physically. We are having an argument. The way we deal with it when it's face to face, you cannot compare it with when you have to go over, talk it over FaceTime or
WhatsApp.
like
You're so right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me pause you for a second because there's something you said triggered something in my mind. But let me quickly take this call. Good morning. Are you there? I think I have Mayro from Abuja. You're live.
Good morning, Moranga.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm really enjoying your program.
Thank you, madam.
Well done. The issue of couples staying apart is a very difficult one. I don't support it because I've gone through it for some years now, and it has been a very difficult one.
How many years, Mayro?
Now, getting to 10 years now.
10 years.
Yes. And
Is
I
Nigeria,
have
where does
one-
he live? Nigeria or abroad?
Nigeria here.
Oh.
And then I have children to raise alone without the father not always being around. So it's been a very difficult one. And just like your guest speaker is saying, there are some things that you can say physically that may be more understandable than talking through the phone.
Oh, yeah.
And then having children that keep asking, where's our daddy? And then you are the one to plan your studies, activities here, activities there. Everything is on your head. It's a very difficult task training children. I don't
Thank you, Mayro. You see, I was going to come to the burden of choosing between my emotional need and a broken home. Because a lot of women are having to choose that, let me just manage. Okay, I have this need, valid need, but I will sacrifice that need. Mayro, I will sacrifice my desire, that need for companion, the need for emotional connection.
that
I am
time.
willing to sacrifice it, but you don't even know how long the time is. So my question is, how long am I willing to sacrifice?
Especially in this judgmental society that we are in, if it was a guy, they believe it's okay to step out, right? But if it was a lady, they feel like you're cheating and all that.
Yes.
But then, just like I said earlier on, everybody have this need that needs to be met by their partner. So in such cases, okay, you said you had to manage through for 8 years. Okay. Probably maybe you're lucky to be able to handle it. There are a lot of women out there that find themselves in this kind of situation that they can't even last 1-2 years. Body is different. The way we respond, even to our sexual needs, is totally different. So in that
I really
case,
appreciate you for saying it the way it is, because we tend to believe that, oh, women, you know, we have this conversation sometimes behind the scene here with some of the production people, and they're like, no, women are wired differently. I say, so really? No, like, so women don't have the bodies are angels. When everywhere they go to, the body just shuts down. Let's be realistic. And BC, you mentioned it earlier. You said different people have their own love language. They have their personalities. They have their what connects them. If you are one of those that can do well with separation, good for you. But you, as a partner, you must have that conversation, and you must be your eyes must be open to the fact that you might be married to someone who cannot survive it. Don't be blind, or don't be ignorant. Don't form like, oh, she will do well, but you know your wife. You know your wife that is always touching you every 2 days. You now want her to go to stay in the UK for 1 year, and you know each other. You already know.
Or someone that is so used to this. Okay, you said you initially at the early stage of your marriage.
Not early stage till now.
No, that touchy thing.
Till now.
Yeah. Okay, so when you get used to that fact that, okay, I have to cuddle someone before going to bed. Early.
The thing is about adjusting.
Let me pause. I want to hear your thoughts, but let me take this call. Hold it for a minute. Hello, are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, Morayo, good morning. I just want to say something that the first call mentioned.
Yeah.
The first call, that is Hassan, admits it. Living abroad is very sweet and very nice.
Yeah, I agree.
I have been traveling frequently for past 15 years now. And I find out that if you're moving with your family to abroad, you need to adjust some packaging.
Yeah.
Like, is I'm not bringing from myself the way my mother trained me. I can change pampers, I can wash my wife's clothes, I can do anything at home. Is I'm not bringing the way I'm training myself and the way my mother put me through. And secondly, for past 8 or 7 years now, my mind is telling me or regretting why I didn't live in abroad. Let me shock you. There is no security in Nigeria and Africa at large. Moreover, you wake up one morning, you and Tope and Obe, you find out that the station has burned down. All things that you keep there has burned down. So I tell everybody there that living abroad is a good thing that you can be able to do for yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carlo. So he's been doing it for 18 years and he's been meaning to go back and forth.
So I had a question I wanted to ask you people. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm advocating for long-distance relationship. But the point is, we don't plan for some of these things. It can happen to you in that marriage. Do you pack up the marriage because I cannot stay without being touched for 2 years or 3 years? Or you would look at the long-term goal, which is we had come together and agreed to have a family, to raise these children. If anything happens and somebody has to step out, I will fill in the gap and we hold that space till the person comes back. That's what I'm trying to say. Me, I love to be with you 24 hours, right? But I know that it can happen in a situation, except of course you don't want success, except of course you don't want to grow in your business, except you just want to be in that small cocoon. And if that's okay with you and your partner, that's fine. But if you want to grow, things will happen. Even if you don't want to grow, challenges can come that one person is taking away from you. What do? You pack up the marriage, you enter another one. 2 years again, something happens. You pack up that one, enter another one. The reason we have some of these things available to us that we can use to help ourselves when somebody is not there to help us is to keep us there. Go and learn how to use it and help yourself.
So,
those things. I mentioned hugging pillow. I don't want to call the other ones. It can help you for the time
technology.
being. Yeah, for the time being. See,
all right, Yeah.
think so.
Let me come to.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dari. On something.
Okay, then. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that, like I said, I do not disagree with the fact that maybe circumstances can come up or change that could warrant you having, that distance. But I'm actually looking at the effects of that on the kids, on the husband, and on the family in general.
Yeah, we absolutely. I mean, there are different ways. Right, let me come to you. You have comments on social media too?
Not yet. Yeah, so I was going to say that, of course, life happens, and you make preparations or you make adjustments for life. And like I said earlier, I said sometimes you can even take when you have a conversation, you can say, okay, 2 to 3 years, I'm going abroad, I need to go and study, I just got a job, I need to go there and settle down. But when it's in perpetuity, when there's no end date or end plan, whether we like it or not, there are negative implications of being away from your family and your spouse for a protracted period, and you're not even visiting at all. There's a difference between someone who's away and comes home twice a year. There's a difference between the one that comes home once every 5 years. There's the difference between that one and the one that hasn't shown up in 15 years. Sure. There's a difference between the one who's away but is constantly in touch, and one who's away and you hardly ever hear from him. You have to call the neighbors and the neighbors and the neighbors before they get him, and you say, oh, I'm so busy. And so the emotional needs of those categories of people will be different. Sure. And it's not saying that we should give up. We're saying when you make these decisions for your family and about your family, at what cost? Are you looking at that as well? Sometimes you will ask, the cost of me being away for so long, and then it might negatively impact my family. Is it worth it? Or do I look for this better, this growth, this development, this wealth, this riches? Can we now figure a way how we can do it locally, all together, abroad, whether if we start even much smaller than if I had gone alone? So these are the things you have to discuss. And of course, your personalities and what you can take and what you cannot take.
Fantastic. Let me take this caller. Good morning. Are you there?
Yeah, sorry,
please, go ahead.
I think I want to say something here. I think what you guys wanted to say, I think is the interesting one. Then when you talk about me, you think of myself, I love traveling.
It's a bit muffled, but go ahead.
I love traveling, but the truth is that, you like sort of adventure. You move, you understand the little people. So when you're thinking people home, when you think it that to your home, I understand the environment that you need to have.
William, we can't hear you it's quite muffled. So sorry about that. We have
I want to say something. You mentioned it, but I'll say it it's a Yoruba quote. Like if I'm holding on for too long, I can, Dr. Olumide Bangala said it before that many women can marry you the way you are, but they don't want you to stay the way you are. I can cope with the fact that based on life's decision, like things we didn't plan happened, but there must be an end in sight. There must be what will be the result. So it is that there's nothing to look forward to. There is no hope. It is a limitless, I don't have a decision to make. That is it. So the conversation here is, let us, whatever decision, whether you want to stay in Nigeria, one person will go, both of you will go, sit down and let it be a family discussion. Of course. Tough conversations need to be had. Scenario buildings need to take place. What will happen if this happens? How do we resolve if this happens? Have those conversations, and then we can probably have more united fronts, even wherever we find ourselves as a happy marriage.
We have to wrap up on this, but let me let Dayo. Yeah, go ahead.
Talking from a personal experience, I had a personal experience based on this. Okay, it was a relationship of like 4 to 5 years. It was a distance relationship, but eventually, it didn't work. Okay, like I said earlier, the issue of trust issue, tripping in, and then stuff like that. For me, I feel if you have to, relocate the Japa thinking. Probably you should all agree as a family to relocate together as a family. Then by so doing, it might really, but the wife staying in Nigeria, the husband out there, the kids, it's kind of create a kind of division.
Sometimes.
Afford to.
Sometimes.
Together at the same time.
But even in the cases of whereby maybe one could, in my own case, then I could travel. Okay. So I more like I travel like every three months, just because he can't come in. But I can go anywhere. But it's quite expensive having to manage such situation.
But interestingly, when it's flipped, where the woman is abroad with the kids and the man is one going back and forth, people find it easier. They don't see that long distance. But the women even like the break because the husband goes to Nigeria. They carry all his Nigeria nuances.
He's still the
all this Nigeria, they have to break the cook this, you have to do that. Let him carry himself to Nigeria, beg.
Mariah, you know why that one is even more dangerous? Because what I hear is that because Nigeria is a more accepting culture of men can have extra wives. So if we are there in the UK hearing all sorts of this and complaining, you will not get much sympathy from those at home. They'll be like, hey, he's a man. But if it was abroad, you hear people likely to say, look for money and go and join him there. But if it's the other way around, they'll be like, just let it be.
So we have to wrap up on this because I know I have to go to your interview. But I think we've discussed two scenarios. That one, you take your family abroad, the dynamics have changed. Both of you are having difficulty adjusting. And to resolve that, we're still hoping that Nigerians have more onboarding structures where when families come to Canada, to Australia, to Nigeria, to America, there's some kind of a system that helps them to understand the new environment they're in, how they can restructure their homes so that everybody's happy. That's really critical for people to go in. Then for those who are having to have long distance, there's got to be an end in sight. There's going to be a start. Okay, I mean, Mariam mentioned that in Nigeria, 3 years abandonment there's a 3-year law. Once you've been abandoned for 3 years, you can actually leave. But these are conversations we have, like how long is too long? Can I do 4 years, 5 years? Can we plan 10 years or just in case things fall apart? After 10 years, can I go my own way? There's got to be that conversation where it is clear, on what the plans are. So some people like Mero, I don't have to just keep waiting. Her own husband is even in Nigeria. I don't know how that's working. Maybe your wife is in one state, you have to work in another state. It's difficult. I don't know how that happens.
I have tweets.
Solomon. You're all living with him now.
Did you go to the place?
Which Solomon?
Comments. We have to
Solomon has so many concubines.
Social media, let's take a wrap up. Anything?
Yes. Bill Kidd says, no one can tell you how it feels except the person in the situation.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think we're undermining the fact that marriage is about companionship. We shouldn't even be having this conversation ideally, but we have normalized separation of the family unit, and it's sad.
Any other one? That's it?
Queen B says, people are wired differently. I can comfortably stay for 3 to 5 years without seeing my husband, and I will never cheat on him. As far as being apart is for the good of the family, and we both agree it's okay.
So there are women like
Jaffe
that.
Frederick says, Japa as a family is okay, but Japa with one spouse is delicate in a situation where he or she can come into Nigeria or he or she can't go out. The question is for how long that is going to play out. As Mariah said, how long is too long?
Okay, I think we're going to wrap up on that. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll now delve into what Temidayo Amusa is doing. Stay with us. We'll be right back.